Hi everyone and welcome back to Tennis Time. So 6 days of the Australian Open are almost up, and what can I say? I think we've had a fantastic Australian Open so far. In the first few days, when we finally had the chance to watch tennis with the crowd back, I actually realized how much I missed the crowd just by watching tennis on TV. Even though it was only a 30% capacity crowd, they still made the difference, especially on days where players from Australia were on. It's a very unfortunate situation that they had to decide to make another 5 day lockdown. So, beginning with a Saturday play basically, or late Friday evening, since 12 midnight, spectators were not allowed anymore to be in the stadium. But nonetheless, if it's 5 days, that means that in the late quarterfinal stages for the semis and for the finals, hopefully, we will have the crowd back. Okay, so I thought I'm going to do a little update on the Australian Open so far. What were the biggest matches? Let's take a look at Djokovic's and Nadal's route so far. And thanks to one of my YouTube subscribers, I've got a very interesting question which I wanted to address in this video. So here is the comment from Michael Finch. So he says he saw the Team Kyrgios match and it was one hell of a match. Team is an unreal player, very complete in offense, defense, speed, etc. And for me, he has the best single-handed backhand of all time. Okay, so Michael, I completely agree. This was a hell of a match, a spectacular one, and both players played really well. Kyrgios came out very strong, came out firing, big serves, very unpredictable, very solid off the ground. Team had maybe not one of the best starts, and that showed. He lost the first two sets, but he also shown that as of late, Team has produced his best tennis in very difficult moments. I mean, he's won, although the level of tennis in the US Open final was very, very far off from this one, because this was from a quality perspective and superb encounter. He still managed to produce his best tennis then in the US Open final, coming back from 2 sets to love down, and he's done the same thing here. Even a very seasoned, experienced player, Grand Slam champion, can go down and not feel super confident after being 2 sets to love down, but he's really kept his cool. I mean, in the previous round for Kyrgios, where he also had a 5 set match and it was very difficult for him, the crowd really had a voice in that match, and the crowd carried him a little bit. If this was at the US Open, I think Kyrgios would have lost that match. And here the crowd supported Kyrgios wildly, which is sort of understandable and expected, because Kyrgios is a very unpredictable player, and even if sometimes he has strange antics, people love the spectacle he can be able to produce. He is able to produce, and he can bring to the court. So naturally, people love that, and he's done a superb job in this match as well. But Team has shown that he is the Grand Slam winner material. He kept cool throughout the entire match, and he deserved this victory. So where do you see this tournament going now after a couple of rounds? I'm going to address that a little bit later. I'm going to show you a few charts, a few slides, where I'm going to talk through some matches. Kyrgios served 74% first serves, 26 aces, the entire crowd behind him, and won first 2 sets courtesy an off-color Team. As break points, where Team hit a couple of out of this world backhands, but still Nick lost. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So the crowd was completely behind Kyrgios, as I mentioned before. That's sort of understandable. Um, I think Team, as I said, he's not lost confidence. He's not lost the belief in his ability that he can come back and he can win the match in 5 sets, even though he lost the first 2 sets. Um, yes, and you're also writing that to you, for you, he has the best single-handed backhand of all time. It's very hard to argue with that, isn't it? Because he can really hit it really, really hard. He can go with it down the line. He can go with it cross court. He can hit players court, off of the court with his backhand. He has an incredible variety. He has the good length on the backhand. Um, Wawrinka is also a superb single-handed backhand. His single-handed backhand is maybe a little bit. Maybe he can hit it even a fraction harder sometimes. It's very difficult for me to say that definitely Team's single-handed backhand is the best of all time, but it's definitely right up there. You can have pros and cons if you compare it with Wawrinka's backhand, or if you take other single-handed backhands. Richard Gasquet's backhand is also fantastic. The difference between one of the differences between a player like Gasquet and Team would be if we concentrate on the fact that both have really good backhands. Team has a fantastic forehand. Wawrinka has also a fantastic forehand. So I've rarely seen, or I should rather say, I've never seen a player with a fantastic backhand, only having a fantastic backhand, being able to dominate the game. So your forehand is your primary attacking shot. It's the best shot. Uh, it can be the best weapon in tennis. So if you don't have a superb forehand, which is even better than your backhand most of the time, then you cannot be one of the top players or a really superbly dominant player. Um, so I think in Team's case or in Wawrinka's case, when these players are or were at their peaks, the backhand shines even more because they hit it so well. But the forehand is probably one of the most important shots they have, and both Team and Wawrinka have fantastic forehands as well. Um, yeah, that about Team's backhand. It's also an interesting discussion if you compare single-handed with double-handed backhand. So which shot is better? Um, I think you can definitely hit with the single-handed backhand harder. You have a much longer swing. If you have to block, for instance, a ball and you play it with a double-handed backhand, you certainly have a bigger, better stability. Normally, a player I think can be more precise in placing the ball with a double-handed backhand. You have to be incredibly skilled to be able to pull off shots with a single-handed backhand like Team or Wawrinka. Even Roger Federer has a superb single-handed backhand, but I think I would agree with you that Team's single-handed backhand is even better than Federer's. It's a different kind of execution of the shot. It has more power and even more precision sometimes. Okay, that about the single-handed backhand of Teams. Going forward with your comment, moreover, Team is one of the well-behaved. So you're saying moreover how well-behaved is Team? He was very quiet even after winning. How classy is that kid. I wish he wins multiple Grand Slams. Okay. How was Djokovic screaming disrespectfully after winning? It was just sickening to see him scream sometimes, ripping shirts, etc. Okay, so a couple of things here. I think Thiem had to know that he had he had to keep his cool. If he didn't, he would definitely lose, especially when Kyrgios is such in great form. He kept his cool. That really helped him a lot. And keeping his composure and keeping that belief, what he knew he had to have in order to come back from 2 sets to love down. So that was an absolute must. Regarding Djokovic screaming toward the crowd disrespectfully, I mean, ripping shirts. The ripping shirt, I think, is over. He has not done that in a long time. He's gotten a lot of criticism for it, and he stopped doing it, which I think is a good thing or a good sign. I remember a friend of mine talking to me about his children, how they watch the matches, and after a while, they started imitating Djokovic's antics, like giving signs to the crowd and being cocky and disrespectful. So I think the shirt ripping, dropping the shirt ripping thing is generally a good thing for image. On the other hand, I can certainly understand the urge that when you put in a superhuman effort and you're completely exhausted and you have so much energy in you and so much anxiety in yourself, and you finally achieved your goal, you've won the match, you feel like ripping your shirt off. I can understand that, but I agree with you that it doesn't look pretty, so I'm happy he dropped that habit. And screaming toward the crowd, well, I don't necessarily like that either, but for instance, in the second round when he was playing Tiafoe, there was a group of Tiafoe supporters who were really loud. And when he won his first set against Tiafoe, he made a fist bump and screamed toward the crowd. Toward that group, especially, which was supporting Tiafoe very loudly. This is also certainly something you can understand, because you're out there, it's really hot, you're working super hard, and then there's a bunch of people who are disrespecting your efforts and screaming at you and making you not wanting to be there in a way. So he reacted. This is something Djokovic does. He's an emotional person and he shows that. Whether I like it or not, I think that's beside the point in a way. So it doesn't really matter in the end if it stays with just fist bumping towards somebody in the crowd and celebrating the fact that he's won a set. Can look disrespectful, can look you not wanting to like that player. Completely understand that, but some would say that's good for tennis. If you remember McEnroe, for instance, he was also in the habit of getting angry a lot. And normally when players get angry, it doesn't help their game. McEnroe was maybe an exception. So I think McEnroe, when he really got angry, he had to do something about that anger going away. And what happened then, he was more concentrated and he fueled his own tennis with his anger. But most people can't do it. If the anger comes, then they just get angry and they cannot concentrate anymore. I think with Djokovic, it's a little bit similar than with McEnroe. So he thrives on the emotion, whether that's a negative emotion or not. It's fueling him. It wants him to win even more. And he's getting adversarial. And if he does that, then the crowd doesn't like it. The people don't like that. and that's understandable. On the other hand, you can ask the question, is that good for tennis or not? Some would argue that it's definitely not because it's disrespectful, it makes you hate the player even more. Others would say it's great for tennis because, well, look at the 2018 US Open final between Osaka and Serena Williams. Some people said, I saw a really good documentary on that one, and respected people were saying this was probably one of the worst things in tennis what happened for a long time because they got so much negative exposure. And somebody else, also like Patrick Mouratoglou, Serena's coach, was saying this is one of the best things that happened for tennis in some time because we got exposure from all corners, not just the regular tennis fans, but so many people were paying attention. And if you get more attention in any sport, some would argue that's a good thing because it helps the sport's popularity, it helps you promote the sport, and even more people will get into it. So the fact that we have controversy in tennis is in a way a good thing because it attracts some sort of audience or even a bigger audience. You can ask the question, is that a good audience or a bad audience, or is that something that is in line with what you want to promote in tennis? That's definitely a question open to debate. Okay, so that much about your comment. I really appreciate you being so active on my channel and asking these questions. In case anybody else would like to participate, or if more questions will come in, I will do an extra session on answering your questions. Okay, so let's move on to my pricks I had at the beginning. So I said in the men's we would have the 8 quarterfinalists in Djokovic, Zverev, Thiem, Rublev, Medvedev, Tsitsipas and Nadal. Okay, so far Sinner is the only one who lost against Shapovalov in the first round. That was a cracker 5-setter. Rublev has just won, Medvedev has just won. He survived a 5-setter against Krajinovic after winning the first 2 sets. He lost the second 2, but won his final set 6-love. It was his first ever victory in 5 sets, surprisingly. Djokovic is still in there. This is something I'm going to address later. Zverev, Thiem, Rublev, and Tsitsipas Nadal. So it looks good in the men's predictions so far toward the quarterfinals. In the women's, Pliskova is out, Kanin and Azarenka are both out, Kvitova is out, so that doesn't look so good. Matches I've picked, matches to watch, as I said, the Shapovalov Sinner match. I thought Sinner would win, but he didn't. Nonetheless, that was one of the most entertaining matches of the season. Probably one of the best matches of the Australian Open, especially in that first round. So congratulations, to Shapovalov, although he's gone out to FAA in the third round. The Charlie Djokovic match was an anticipated one from my end. I thought it would be entertaining. It was, but not for the reasons I expected. So Djokovic, he played incredibly well in that match, and you thought, okay, so this is the 2019 Djokovic in the form, nobody's beating him. The Anderson Berrettini match, which I also anticipated, that was really entertaining, especially in the first 2 sets. Berrettini had to save 8 set points in the first set. He did. He converted his second, by the way, in the tiebreak. I was anticipating maybe a Kyrgios Thiem match, which I just talked about at length regarding Michael's question. I'm really happy that match happened. It was so entertaining. It was such a good tennis match. Many people had the chance to watch it, and many people know that this is what tennis can be about, and tennis can be a fantastic match. This is also a testament why at Grand Slams you probably should stick to a 5-set match. You should not play best of 3. At least that's my opinion. So in the third round, I was expecting the Shapovalov. Sorry, I was expecting the Jannik Sinner match against FAA. It was Shapovalov against FAA, saying that that would be a good one. It was a close contest, but nonetheless, FAA won in 3 straight sets. Congratulations to him on that one. So, what I was expecting in the fourth round, Tsitsipas Berrettini, is probably going to happen, although Tsitsipas had a very, very tough second round match. 4 hours and 30 minutes, that was tough. Berrettini is playing right now with Khachanov. He won the first set. I think he's the favorite to come through. The Nadal Fognini match is, I'm not so sure about that it will happen, because Fognini had a very, very tough second round match and is playing Alex de Minaur in the third, who is super fit. So I think we're going to have rather Nadal against de Minaur. The Rublev Medvedev quarter is on. Nadal Tsitsipas is potentially on. Djokovic Zverev remains to be seen. Djokovic team also remains to be seen. Nadal Medvedev also remains to be seen. Other matches which were really great so far at the Australian Open, the Tsitsipas Kokkinakis match. So Kokkinakis, we know that he has been injured for some time, repeatedly injured. He's 24, he's still young, but he has played relatively a low amount of tournaments, a low amount of matches. He's out of match practice, and I really hope after this match he's going to stay healthy and he's still going to continue playing. He wants to be there on the European clay season. He wants to play those matches, so I'm really looking forward to see him play more. I also mentioned before the second round match, the Kyrgios against Humbert match. That was also almost as good as the Kyrgios team match, because Kyrgios was 2-1 down. He was a breakdown. He was 5-4 down in the fourth set. Humbert was serving for the match. He had 2 match points. Kyrgios broke somehow. Sorry. And then he managed to pull the match out, and after winning the fourth set tiebreak, breaking Humbert once in the fifth, and that was enough. Fantastic atmosphere, and really, really happy to see Kyrgios back on court and playing well. Somewhat of a controversial match in the Fognini Caruso in the second round. They were having a tough argument at the end of the encounter. Fognini won the fifth set in a tiebreak, 14 points to 12. And after they shook hands, Fognini said to Caruso that he was lucky. And then Caruso got pissed, and Fognini was saying he won 4 points, 4 identical points. Caruso was pissed. Why would Fognini say that he's lucky because he lost the match? So that was a little bit of a drama on court. Then later on, Fucsovics playing Wawrinka. That was also a thriller. Wawrinka leading 8-4 in the fifth set tiebreak, and Fucsovics coming through and winning in the end, 11 points to 9. So I mentioned also the FAA Shapovalov match. It was a good one, and Medvedev Krajinovic. Medvedev winning the first 2, Krajinovic the second 2, and then Medvedev steamrolling him in the fifth, 6-love. So I think this was for Medvedev a good match to come through, experiencing that struggle of the earlier rounds of a slam, coming through, getting the confidence in, and knowing that he can win the big battles. The upcoming matches, I think the Fognini de Minaur match could be interesting, but I really see de Minaur winning relatively quickly. The Rublev Ruud match will be also an interesting one. Both can really hit that ball so hard. Ruud has an incredible topspin forehand that's going to cause some problems for Rublev, but I still think Rublev is going to come through. Team Dimitrov is also going to be a very interesting match. Interestingly enough, they've played 5 times before, and Dimitrov is 3-2 up. But last time they've played was at the beginning of 2019. That was indoors in France, Dimitrov winning that. But I think since then, Team is a different player, especially on hard courts. being an Australian Open finalist and the US Open winner since then, I see clearly Thiem as the winner. Even though he had a tough five-setter against Kyrgios, I still think he's the favorite. I don't see him being too fatigued. He's in really good shape. He's really fit, and it was not a 4+ hour match against Kyrgios. These were relatively quick sets, so I think he will be completely fine. Now, the Djokovic-Raonic match is probably also going to be interesting if it happens. Now, at the end of the video, let's look at Djokovic's and Nadal's route so far. So, when the tournament began, we knew that Nadal has some sort of a back stiffness problem, and his back is not 100%. So far he's played Jere and Mo in the first and second rounds respectively, and he's played really well. He did say in the conferences, in the press conferences after his matches, that the back is still not 100%, but you couldn't really see that it would have hindered him too much. Cameron Norrie is a good competitor. I think he will test Nadal a little bit more. So it remains to be seen if he is healthy and he can get through that back problem. With Djokovic, he started off really strongly, as I said, against Chardy. He was playing superbly well, picking Chardy off the court. Chardy looked like he couldn't hit the ball right. He was slow to the ball. He was mistiming the ball all the time, especially compared to Djokovic. He looked really bad on that court. Against Tiafoe, that was a different proposition. Tiafoe winning the second set against Djokovic after a really tough tiebreak. The third set, Djokovic was 3-love up. It looked like Tiafoe would fade away, but no, he came back. He made it 3-all. It was a tough third set in the tough fourth set, so Djokovic was really made to work really hard. And in the third round, Fritz is a competitive guy, good opponent, but Djokovic had a good start, 2 sets to love up. After that, he sort of injured his left side. You couldn't really tell what the problem was exactly. It looked like he was not really able to accelerate on his forehand as comfortably as he normally can. He really looked in pain in the third and the fourth sets. He got treatment. Maybe he got some painkillers. He probably got some. I mean, he looked better in the fifth. He still didn't look like his old self. But the old fox he is, and the great competitor that he can be, he squeezed out that fifth set quite comfortably at 6-2. So the big question is he going to be able to recover in time to play Raonic? Raonic is not an easy opponent. He's a big server, so I don't know if Djokovic is not 100%, or is at least not 85%, he will lose the match, although he has an 11-0 record against Raonic. I've put the question mark here because I'm not sure that that match is going to happen. If Djokovic is really injured and he will not be able to compete, then he probably will have to pull out of the fourth round. Nonetheless, final words, closing words. Michael, thanks for your questions. If anybody else has others, I'm really happy to do another video. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done already, and click that notification bell to get all the new updates I'm bringing out. Hope you enjoy this and enjoy the Australian Open. Have a good day ahead. See you next time. Bye bye.